Welcome to 2019. This is Coach Dave at the Turn Academy. Enjoy yourselves. Al has a tendency to set up a little too level. By that I mean, if you look at his shoulders, there's not much of a tilt there. I'd like to see a little bit more tilt to the shoulders. I'd like to see his head a little bit more behind the ball. I'd like to see him maybe on an angle more like that, where his head's back behind the ball a little bit. You can see that his head looks like it's almost over the ball. That makes him a little too upright, and it's hard to get his lead hip out of the way. Let's go ahead and watch the swing now in real slow motion. He stays nice and still. That's one of the good things. But right in there, you see how he collapses his left arm, how it collapsed right there? That's going to cost him some yardage. The reason it has to collapse is he's trying to get the club head back where it belongs, but he's not turning his shoulders. Part of the reason he's not turning his shoulders, if we blow it up, you can see that his head's in the way. If he'd have had a little spine tilt, I think his chin would have been out of the way of his shoulder, and he wouldn't have had to stop. Now we're going to take the club back to the ball. You can see there's no weight transfer here at all. He's pulling in. And again, that's because he's not already behind the ball. It's hard to get around in front of it. So to get in front, you've got to be behind. We can see here that Deebee's got a pretty good posture in her setup. She's got a nice angle on her hips. The club shaft is about parallel or perpendicular to the spine, I mean. She's in a pretty good shot right here. But let's watch the takeaway. What she has a tendency to do once in a while is take the club back way too low into the inside. I know it's unusual to think about taking it back too low, but you can see how far to the inside she's going. She's getting the club well behind her early, and then she lifts up. Can you see what we're looking at now? Let's go back down to the setup position, see where her ear is. It's right on the white line, and then right about here, because she's going back, she can't turn any further than that. You can see her shoulders turn about 90 degrees. In order to get the club to continue moving, she's got to get up and out of the way. So she's going to raise up and out of the shot. And she's got this little cupping here in her hand like that. You see that cupping right there where the left wrist is bent. Right elbow's in a good position. But let's see if we can get this club to drop back down from that position back down to the slot. No, she can't. She's going to come in high. She's going to dive down on it. And she's going to come a little over the top. Makes good contact, but see the ball's going to go up and be kind of weakly hit and go off to the right a little bit, which frustrates her. We've got to get her to stay down on the backswing and take the club back on the swing plane. We're going to start this recording from the impact position. Look at the wonderful leg action here. He's still facing the ball. His legs have moved kind of like Mo Norman into the shot. He's kept his right heel on the ground. His issue is when that fails, he gets himself into trouble. The other thing he has a tendency to do is get that right hand well under the golf club. That's too far under. So he'll have a tendency once in a while to push it out. And if we move this up a little bit, you'll see that the club face probably never gets a good opportunity to rotate. He's going to push, has a tendency to push a little bit because of that. The good news is the leg action. Let's go ahead and all the way back to the start up here. He's in a great position. I'd like to see his right hand a little bit more over the top, but it's not bad. Left hand is kind of a classic, very strong grip. It takes beautiful low takeaway, stays very still. Look at the width in his backswing. That's very nice. Now let's watch the transition here. He's going to shift, but his head moved too. Got to keep the head back, shift the hips. Great leg action right there. At about this point now, if he really wanted to maximize power, the club shaft should be here. He's casting the club a little bit, gets into a good position there, but really his hands should be on this line here. His hands should be up at the white line, so he gets the maximum amount of impact, and then right on through to the finish. It's just a little bit of trying to throw the wrong end of the club at the ball. He's trying to throw the head at the ball, not the grip. What we have here is kind of a bent axle. You can see the turn here from the hips. Everything kind of rounds off. We want to get rid of that. We'd like to see a nice straight line up to the back of his head on that line. So his head's got to be up. His back of his head, or at least maybe even his ears, should be on that white line. Let's see what happens when we go back. He gets jammed up, and then he's going to have to lift up. He can't swing the club on the plane. By that I mean when he gets to the top of his backswing, which is that line right there, The club should be pointing on that line, but it's not. You see, it's way above it. And the club never gets an opportunity to get back down to parallel to the trail arm. So he comes in steep and pulls it. You can see he's pulling in, and then that left elbow flies out. We got to get him to get a little bit better posture and to see if we can get him to swing down and out rather than down and in.